Financial need is determined using a very simple subtraction equation. Basically, there is the cost of attendance at a particular institution, and that includes those direct costs, so things like the tuition, the room, the board, any fees. Then there is the EFC, which is the expected family contribution. That comes from filing the FAFSA. When folks file the FAFSA and submit it to the Department of Education, they'll get immediate feedback right there on the computer that tells them their EFC. So once a student completes that process, they'll know what it is, and that number is not going to change. So financial need is determined very simply by taking a student's EFC, subtracting it from a school's cost of attendance, and whatever is left over, that would be considered that family's need to go to that particular institution.
Financial aid does not get renewed from one year to the next. Every year you have to go ahead and do the FAFSA.
What sometimes can happen is a family's financial situation might change from year to year. So their when they complete their FAFSA, there may be adjustments to income.
A lot of times we will get students coming in saying, well, when my sister was here last year, she got X amount of dollars. Well, there was more in the household last year. Your sister has graduated and is now moved out of the house. So that's going to have an impact as well.
As a freshman, you have lower loan levels or loan eligibility. Your loan eligibility is much smaller than a senior. So to help offset that lower loan eligibility, we do offer additional grant funds from the institution. But as a student's loan eligibility does increase, we would reduce our institutional grant, in essence keeping the institutional amount or the overall financial aid award relatively consistent from year to year, but often you'll see that switch from decreasing the grant and increasing the loan.
If a student would take a class during the summertime, that will affect their fall spring eligibility. So for example, the Pell Grant, you will get X number of dollars per school year. If you use some of that in the summer, that's going to reduce your fall spring eligibility, and the same things with your subsidized and unsubsidized loans. You're only allowed X amount of dollars per school year, and that will reduce your aid for the fall spring.
Probably the biggest mistake that I see returning students make with respect to financial aid is really not reading all of the information that is provided in the financial aid award. We get a lot of students and parents who will say, oh, I didn't know in order to get a loan I had to do 2 extra things. I thought because it was in the financial aid award that's it. So that is probably the biggest and most important thing that I continue to encourage students and families to do, which is read the information.
Forgetting to reapply, that is probably one of the biggest mistake that we see, or applying too late. So I always tell families that if they should think of their financial aid application as an extension to their tax return. Once their taxes are done, they should immediately be doing their financial aid application.
You can apply for financial aid for the following school year starting January 1st. That's when it's available. You don't have to have your taxes done because you can go ahead and estimate that information using your last year's taxes. We typically tell students to get it done by March 1st. Get your FAFSA in by then, and then we have plenty of time throughout the rest of that semester and throughout the summer to get your aid processed.
The deadlines are important because financial aid is limited. Each institution has a limited amount of financial aid. And so as students complete their applications and get them in, we then award students. As we get closer to the start of school and we miss deadlines, there is less and or no financial aid remaining from the institution to be able to help. So they may have had an assistance the year prior that if they missed a deadline, it may be less, or they may not even be part of their financial aid award in subsequent years.
Basically, we run out of campus-based aid, so you want to get your FAFSA done first for college work study, the supplemental grant, the Perkins loans. Those kind of funds will be running out faster than the other funds. So you want to get it in, the FAFSA in prior to that deadline.